Hi everyone, and welcome to this first impressions review of Robot Paradise's new Acoustic Wave, which is obviously their version of a masterpiece scaled Soundwave. And I think we all know that this is actually from Fans Toys. I guess they rebranded for diversionary reasons, maybe, just to keep Takara off of their scent, if anything kicked off. You know, when you do something with a major character like Soundwave or Optimus or Megatron or whatever, you're probably going to incur more wrath than usual, as seen with the Unicron that was being put out by Zeta. They had to rebrand and resell and repackage, etc. after Hasbro Takara curb stomped them. Anyway, enough about that. I've really been looking forward to this guy for quite a long time now. I think it was teased years ago. I know a lot of people have been looking forward to it. It's undergone a radical redesign since those days. I think this box art is actually representative of what it was originally going to look like. What we ended up with is very different and far more to my aesthetic taste, I have to say. I will warn everyone now, anyone who's watched the channel will know that I generally ramble a lot and do very long videos. This is probably going to be a very long one because there's actually a lot to say and a lot to cover. Not only do you have Soundwave himself, but you have his little minion there, Fibra, which is either Rumble or Frenzy, depending on the way you look at it, and a bunch of accessories and various other options and stuff like that. So, and also as an aside, I will say that Soundwave, along with maybe someone like Shockwave, Megatron, Galvatron, and that was Soundwave's one of my favourite characters from back in the G1 days. In all mediums, really. You know, in the comic, he was a fantastic character in the comic. Was obviously Decepticon leader at one point. In the toon, he had the iconic Frank Welker sort of vocoder modulated voice. Even in other media, he still remains pretty cool. So he's been a long time a favourite of mine, and also he is the figure that actually kick-started my masterpiece collecting. I had him as a gift. It was the first one I ever got. I think it was 120 quid. It was the Toys R Us MPO2 version with all the cassettes. And back then I remember thinking, my God, I would never pay that much for a Transformer. And how times have changed, eh? So he will always hold a special place in my heart. And I will... I will be comparing that figure with this figure and maybe even a little G1 OG goodness as well. Anyway, I'm going to break this video up into sections just because I don't want to unbox it on camera. As I say, this isn't really an unboxing review, it's a first impressions review. So I'm going to unbox it off camera and then come back with my first impressions of the bot and everything else. I understand there's some sort of little bits and pieces need to be sorted out of the box to get it into bot mode proper. So I'll do that, and then I'll come back with a sort of more articulate view of the figure than I would do if I just pulled it out and started playing with it in front of you. And that's what she said. So anyway, give me a few minutes. Obviously, very little time in your time, and I'll be back with a better view. Actually, what I'll do before I end this section, we'll take a quick look at the box because there's no point doing that in the next section. We might as well just get that out of the way. Obviously, you've seen the front. On the sides here, we just have some text. On the back, we have a very familiar Robot Paradise, wink wink, layout with the product shots and the character bio as well. Or character bios, in fact, because there's also Frenzy Rumble at the bottom. So not really anything to see there that you won't be expecting. I guess on the end of the box as well, just more text. So it's quite a nice box. I like the Fans Toys artwork. It's generally a lot more stylized than the figures themselves are, but it looks good. Anyway, I've rambled on for almost 5 minutes just on the intro, so no change there. But please stick with me. If you're one of those people who doesn't like long videos, this probably isn't for you. No need to let me know with angry comments in the comments section. Thank you very much. Anyway, I will be right back with a look at robot mode. Okay, and we're back, and here he is in all of his glory. And I have to say, I really like it. I really liked it, when I saw the initial pictures, when I saw the redesign they'd done on it and how much more tune accurate it was than the old version. But having it in the flesh, so to speak, it's a really, really good looking bot. I do have a few issues with it, which I'll go through. Obviously, it wouldn't be me if I didn't have a few issues. But by and large, I'm really, really happy with it. One thing I'm not sure if it comes across on camera, actually, is that I was quite worried about the colours, because all the promo shots I saw made the blue look really, really light, and it looked like he had white arms, legs, etc., face. But in person, that isn't the case. It's just the way that the sort of I guess fluorescent lights make the paint look. That it's quite a sparkly paint, if that makes sense. So it's like pearlescent. So it sort of changes colour under different lighting conditions. But under natural light, I will say that the colours on this guy are pretty much spot on. So this blue is very tune accurate to my mind. It's darker than it appears in most photos, but not too dark. It's not as dark as MP02, MP13, you know, the original Takara Hasbro versions. And these sections here, 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 and here are more of an off-white grey, which is, again, cartoon accurate. I mean, I wouldn't have minded white, but it's not entirely correct. That these pieces should be more of a grey colour, and it's maybe not quite as dark as it is in the cartoon, but it's not a million miles off. I really like that. I think that's a really good choice that they've made to go for that look. Yeah, other than that, I mean, I really love the way the visor pops, the red on the visor, and the highlights, the accents on his concussion blaster and whatever this is, sensor or missile launcher, whatever it is, and on the arms, the red stripes there. The things I'm not as enamoured with, colour-wise, are the gold around here. I would have much preferred it if it had been this sort of colour to match the shin pieces here, which themselves are also a little bit too yellow. They should be more of an orangey goldy colour, and so should that, for complete tune accuracy. And also these buttons here, they should match here. But to be honest with you, Fans Toys always does this. There's always a mix of toy and tune, or real world aesthetic. So I wasn't expecting it to be completely 100% tune, but it's certainly a lot closer than anything we've previously had. So I can't really complain. You know, it's definitely a really nice looking piece. I'll spin him round a little bit, just so you can see what he looks like from the side. The legs here are a little bit messy, I'll admit. They leave this quite exposed, and that's so that you can tab on some of the toy mode options. I'd have preferred it if they'd found a way to do that, maybe just it tabbed there and didn't leave all of this empty space, but I'm guessing it needs to be there for transformation or something anyway. But still, that hollowness there is a little bit disappointing, but again, not the end of the world. And coming around to the back, again, the backs of his legs, a lot of visible die cast. Again, not the end of the world, but you know, fairly unsightly for my mind. And you know, the butt flap looks okay. The backpack not too bad, and I've seen some people saying this backpack's really big and unsightly, and you know, it's not just Takara. But to be honest with you, it's not that bad, is it? I mean, it's not much bigger than the Takara Hasbro version or the original Soundwave from G1. So anyway, I think it looks really good all round, and yeah, it's a really nice looking representation of the character. Let's have a look now. I think probably the next best thing to do is have a look at the little add-in figure, and here he is. It's Fibra, and I haven't quite decided whether I'm going to go down the route of using him as Rumble or Frenzy. I know, like, I'm a long time believer that, you know, Rumble is red, Frenzy is blue, because that's how it was in the toy and in the comics and in pretty much all media apart from G1 cartoon and a few other little bits and pieces here and there. But overwhelmingly, Rumble is red and Frenzy is blue. That said, because I have a very tune-centric display, I'm so used to seeing Rumble as the blue stroke purple robot and Frenzy as the little used red robot, that I may actually keep them like that. I may have this as Frenzy and have Rumble with the pile drivers, etc. But I haven't decided yet. We'll see. Or maybe I'll mix and match. Anyway, it's very hefty. I'll say that. There's a lot of die cast in it, so you know, it's quite you know, chunky for a little figure. Not as chunky as this boy. He's very hefty, but yeah, it's pretty nice. I like that they've really gone the extra mile in some areas for the cartoon deco. Like, these shins are the most accurate we've had on any figure, I think. They're definitely more accurate than the official Masterpiece version and more than the MMC versions. These accents, again, very, close to being completely accurate. Not entirely, but very close. Proportionally, I think he looks good as well. Of course, when you turn him around, things start to change. He's very hollow from the back. You've got completely hollow legs there, which look a bit rough. Some more hollowness there as well. Also, because they've decided to go for this detailing on the back, like the official tape has, the official Masterpiece cassette, it also means that he ends up with that decal, or that sort of detailing on the inside of his legs and things like that. Now, that's not actually too inaccurate. When you look at the character model and you look at the alt mode, it's the face of the tape is actually just black with a very small bit in the centre. So they've actually mirrored the Masterpiece tape there when they didn't need to. They could have made the back of the figure, these arms could have been all red and black, the insides of the legs could have been all black, and that could have been largely black as well. So a bit annoyed they did that, to be honest, because they've gone one way, they've gone full tune, and the other way they've sort of gone toy as well for alt mode. So anyway, aesthetically, I think he looks really good, apart from the shoulders, but we'll get into that a bit more when we look at articulation, etc. But yeah, I mean, when you stand him next to Soundwave, I think he also looks really good. I think those proportions, that scale looks good. But scale's another issue that we'll touch on in a bit, actually. But yeah, I think it looks really nice. So my first impressions after taking both out of the packaging and kind of getting them up together are that they are, I'm not disappointed. They're really nice looking figures, and yeah, the wait has been worth it. They were quite expensive, I will say that, for what they are. I think they're a little bit overpriced, particularly the cassettes. They come in at about, individually with the pack that's coming up, they're about 30 quid each, and having seen one of them, that is nowhere 30 quid's worth, really. I mean, I guess it's got a lot of die cast, but still, it doesn't feel like a £30 figure because of the size and everything, and the simplicity of the transformation. But, and this guy doesn't feel, like a £150 figure or whatever he would be when you take the price of that off. Maybe a bit less, actually. If you take the 30 quid off, this is probably about 100 and... No, but actually probably is about £150 figure. So yeah, I think he's a bit overpriced, maybe, but that's just the way things are now, isn't it? In the collecting, in the Masterpiece collecting market. Also, yeah, I think I mentioned in the previous segment that there was a lot of stuff to do to get him into bot mode, and there was. I had to spin him around so his top was oriented the correct way. I had to fold in some flaps here that were white to hide them, and that's actually given a little bit of a stress mark on the top here. I've just noticed that. That's quite concerning after like one. I only pulled that out once to do that, and I didn't use really any pressure on it either, so that's a little bit concerning. A bit annoying as well, but anyway. And also I thought this was supposed to be fully painted. I shouldn't really be able to see the stress mark like that if it was. But yeah, you had to do that. What else did I have to do on it to get it up to speed? I had to plug these in here. Both of the shoulders were unpegged, and one of them went in really easily. The other one was a complete pain in the arse to get in, to clip in. So again, also the mechanism makes me think that it's also slightly prone to perhaps breakage over time. So I'll probably transform him for purposes of this video for display, so you can see what the alt mode looks like. But I don't think I'm going to be flipping back and forth too much for that reason. And plus, I display in bot mode anyway, predominantly. What else did I have to do? Oh yes, so at the back here, this whole butt piece was flipped around 180, so I had to sort that out and clip it all together and make that tidier. Had to put the backpack up into the backpack. It was sort of hanging down. So it's only minor things, really. Only kind of like, finessing the figure. There was nothing major, but it's just to let you know that out of the box, he isn't ready to go. You've got to do a few bits and pieces to get him into, top shape. Anyway, I think perhaps now is a good time maybe to take a quick break. And what I'll do is I'll bring in some of the accessories so that you can see what comes with both figures. And then maybe after that, we'll do a quick articulation checklist on both figures. And then afterwards, probably move into some comparisons with the other Masterpiece scale figures. And then alt mode, and then final thoughts. So just to give you a rough idea of how I'm going to lay this one out. So yeah, just give me a second and I'll bring some of the accessories in and you can see what you get. Okay, so I've moved the camera down a little bit now, so I've got Soundwave's head off a little bit. Sorry about that, Soundwave. Just so you can see what you get in the pack, and you do get a lot, I will say that. So I think probably best to start with Fibra stuff. Obviously I'd already attached the two little guns that you get here. Now they can be either worn on the back or held in the hands as they were on the G1 toy. So yeah, I mean, if you know what those are, you'll be familiar with them. One thing I will say though is that there are two tones on it. So you have, I don't know if it comes up on camera again, probably does if you look. This is more of like a straight ahead flat silver, and this is more of a metallic-y colour, and that's, yeah, it's weird. So there's two tones. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that or intended. Well, I'm guessing it is intended to be like that, but I'd have preferred it if it was all one colour, to be honest. But they also fold up as well, so you can move those. Oh, and they pop off. Actually, probably better if I do take that off because I can show you. So yeah, so this flap here will fold up entirely like that, and then you can fold it down again if you like. And as I said, it can be held in the hand as well, if you so desire. Although I haven't actually figured out how you peg that in yet. How do you peg that in? I'm assuming it can be handheld. I mean, it looks like it. There we go. Yeah. So you have the classic look from the G1 toy there, and yeah, I think it looks pretty smart. Just a weird choice to have these in different colours, I think. In addition to that, you get, and I guess because they couldn't decide who's who, and it was the same with the Masterpiece toy, and also in the cartoon they both had them, you get pile drivers. You get a set of two here, and they are spring loaded. Sadly, it means that you can only have them in one of two positions. You either have them in like that, or I think you press this button here, or no, sorry, that button there, down, and then they spring load out. But as you'll see, they just keep doing that then. And the way you stop them is you press that in, and then click that, and that holds them in position. I haven't actually looked at how you get around to attaching these yet, but I'm assuming it's just a case of folding that up like that. It's very, very similar to the Masterpiece toy. Oh, I should have put the fist in first, I guess. So the fist in, knocking the gun off the back. Oh, I've just noticed, sorry, with the gun as well, you can fold that in like that. I'm guessing maybe for storage or something, you can probably do it. Anyway, I'll leave that off for the time being. But yeah, then the pile driver will just attach like that, although that does seem very likely to rub the paint off, so I probably wouldn't do that a lot. But yeah, looks okay, I guess. You know, not a great design. You know, it's quite a tight fit, so I do worry about paint rub it on that. Yeah, especially because it's paint on paint as well. I'm slightly worried that when I take this off, it's going to rub the paint off. Yeah, that fills me with dread. But anyway, probably only use these on one of the bots. As I said, I'm edging towards using them on the blue bot, having him as Rumble, because I am sort of going down the cartoon route, and you know, years of denying that this guy is Frenzy and it is Rumble, and then you know I'm going back on everything. I don't know who I am anymore, but still. Anyway, that is everything that you get with Frenzy. Oh, actually, sorry, no, I tell a lie. Frenzy, Rumble as well. Sorry, I keep referring to them as both. You do actually get alternate heads, which I haven't shown yet. So I don't know if you can see the face on this. You get a sort of a neutral face first and foremost, which looks okay. I think that's a pretty good face sculpt. But he's fallen over. You also get a, please focus. You also get, I don't know if it is focused. I'm going to move him because it often focuses on the background, and that's the problem. You get a laughing face. Quite a maniacal laughing face as well, which I do like. That's very Rumble to me though, that. And then you get an angry face as well, which I also like a lot. So I think maybe I'll go for the angry face on the red robot and the laughing face on the blue robot. Anyway, that genuinely is everything that you get for Fibra now. So I can move on to the accessories for Acoustic Wave himself. And again, apologies if you're expecting me to fit all of these things to it. I'm probably not going to, just because I don't want to scratch the paint mainly, and also I'm not going to be using, I didn't get this guy for toy mode, I got him for tune mode. So anyway, what you get are these pieces here, which, as I mentioned, they clip onto the legs, and that's why you have those hollow bits, and they clip on there and there. And I'll just do it a little bit so you can see, and you can see it gives more of a sort of a toy deco, much more similar to the original Masterpiece and the original G1 toy. So you get those pieces for that, obviously one for each side. You also get these pieces here for the shins, which can tab in on there. I believe they tab in. There's a little. You might actually have to take them off. I could be wrong that you probably don't leave them on, but they go onto the shin anyway. So they would look like that and give you a little bit more of a sort of more greebly, more detail on the figure. And what else do you get? Yes, you also get these little red pieces for the leg here. Again, these come off. I'm not going to do this because I don't want to. And they would attach there, and that's, again, sorry about this. It's very much more like the toy style to have these red pieces here than it is to have the cartoon accurate bits. And you also get these pieces here to go onto the knees. And I mean, you can see there's a theme here, isn't there? It's very much just making it look more like the toy and the original G1 toy at that than it did, or it does at the moment. And then you also, last but not least, you get these shoulder pieces which go on to here. I may have the orientation for that wrong, but yeah, they go onto the shoulders and just give that a little bit more detailing on the shoulders as well. Anyway, as I said, I'm not going to be using any of that, so apologies if you were hoping to see him toy decoed up, but I'm not really wanting to do that. Oh, it does actually have a couple of other things. Sorry, I should show you. You have this slightly different chest piece, which has some detailing on it. That little rewind or arrow there is very G1 toy accurate, and I think it's even on the Masterpiece. It's painted on the Masterpiece, I believe. But then it has some other stuff on there, and that can replace this piece. It is very light, transparent blue plastic. It probably doesn't, well, I mean, it might come across on camera, I'm not sure. I would have preferred this and the one that's in, especially the one that's in there now, I would have much preferred if that was a darker, sort of opaque blue like they used on the Masterpiece Optimus, or even the Transform Element Optimus, the third release of that, which had the nice blue chest panels, just because that's how the Toons characters look, the Toon models. So that's the way the line has gone. It's not the end of the world, I guess. You know, I could probably put something behind this to make it bluer, and when I put a faction symbol on, that will look better. I mean, I'm guessing they left it like that so you could see the cassettes in there, but I don't really care about seeing the cassettes. You couldn't see the cassettes in the cartoon. So, and last but not least, this is the most important thing, I'm sure, to most people. Here is the cartoon head sculpt. Oh, I have a bit of paint damage on the corner of mine. That's annoying. Well, that's one less reason to use it as well. But I do like it. It's a nice sculpt. It looks good, and it is very reminiscent of the G1 toy. But yeah, it's not something I'd ever use. And from what I've seen elsewhere as well, I'll just move the camera up a bit so you can see this, because he's a little bit too tall, isn't he? What it does is it replaces the front and the top of the head here, as you can see perhaps, but it doesn't replace the sides, so you still end up with a white piece there. So all you're doing is replacing the top and the front, so it's not a completely blue head, which it should be if it was really toy accurate. So it's a bit disappointing that it doesn't actually do a full swap out. But anyway, those are all of the accessories now, apart from, I guess, I've already attached his concussion blaster here and that there, which they obviously double as batteries and can be stored in his backpack here, which obviously will be done in alt mode. And yeah, it's actually a pretty good selection, isn't it? I mean, you know, there's a lot of there for your money. I mean, the trouble is, like a lot of this stuff, which ultimately does drive the price up, I'll never use it. So I don't know how much this collection of plastic bits and pieces would come to. I don't know, does it add a tenner? Does it add 20 quid to the price? I don't know. I suppose it's great for people who want both, or want both options, or want one or the other, because you don't have to buy two figures to do it. You can mix and match, but in reality, how often are you actually going to swap out all the time? You're probably going to choose one, so you can end up buying two figures anyway if that's what you want. Maybe another for alt mode, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess it keeps both camps happier than it would be if they just released one cartoon and one toy version. So I guess they bake that into the price. But yeah, for me, I'm not going to use any of it, so it's not really something that I'm all that excited about. I do obviously like the weapons you get with him. I think they look pretty good. By and large, I do think that the concussion blaster, and this was a problem with the Masterpiece as well, it's not entirely accurate to the G1 toy, because it should be longer, it should go up his arm, and that's how it looks in the Toon as well, but it doesn't extend far enough back. It extends even less than the Masterpiece version actually, but it does, the Masterpiece version is similarly stunted, so I won't complain too much. And I really do like the sort of deco on this, and the paint looks really good. And yeah, it just looks great in general. Actually, I really like it, and this really pops. And I like the articulation on this as well. So it's on a joint that it can move up. It can move up like that and down quite a bit. But I'll go into that when I do articulation anyway. So right, so that is everything you get with the figure for both figures. So yeah, again, I'll take a short break now, and then I will come back with the articulation checklist for both Acoustic Wave and Vibra. So yeah, just bear with me. Oh, sorry, it occurred to me that I forgot to show this stuff off as well as part of the accessories, which I should have. Well, I guess this isn't really an accessory, but you get two character cards, really nice looking character cards actually, in the full Toon style, made of the usual material, and obviously with the usual tech spec bio on the front, on the back there. Slight query over his rating there of 7.5. I think that was 8 on the original tech specs, but I think the Masterpiece does have it as 7.5, so I don't know, who knows, who's right, the original toy or the modern toys. But obviously has the bios on there. It's weird actually, because Fibra's bio, you'd think Fibra, Frenzy is blue, Rumble is red. They're making a statement to say this is Rumble, but then when you read the bio, it says that his focus is counterintelligence and misdirection, and he can produce high frequency noise that disrupts radar and communications and disorients foes. Well, that's Frenzy, isn't it? So I don't know. I guess then they're going to go the opposite direction with their blue robot, and probably have the different acronym there and the Rumble bio there. So yeah. Anyway, I thought I was just mildly curious. Also, you get a full-length colour manual, which has got some pretty comprehensive and easy to follow instructions on there, or at least they look to be, based on what I've seen so far. It also tells you how to swap out all the bits if you want to go. That's what he actually looks like in toy mode, if you're interested, considering I'm being a lazy sod and won't do it myself. But yeah, like obviously you can put all these different bits on, and I'm just no interest, I'm afraid. Obviously your instructions there for Fibra, and oh look, I was right, storage. You can put the guns in the back of the legs folded up, which if you put it into cassette mode, you can keep the guns handy. That's useful actually. And yeah, great. So I will get onto that. I didn't rotate the arms properly when I put the things on. It doesn't matter, does it? Anyway, right, sorry, I know I said I was moving on, I just forgot to do that, so now I really am moving on. So give me a second and I'll be back with a look at the articulation for both. Right, I thought I'd start off with the easier one, Fibra. And so what do we have here? We have a head that is on a post, so it can do a 360, which is about what you'd expect. I mean, you can obviously look up because of the transformation joint, but that looks pretty naff. And you can't look down anything. Well, I mean, you get a tiny bit, but it's not even worth mentioning, although I just did. And arms are on, well, let's look at the elephant in the room. The shoulders on this guy are garbage. They're horrendous. It's the one thing about this I really don't like. They're they're too short in relation to the rest of it. I did think this was a double joint so that you could bend this down, but you can't. That's what it looks like. I mean, you get a lot of range of motion on it. Like the shoulders can go all the way up there, so you can go all the way up to you know, almost vertical, but they just don't look good. But I guess there is a decent range of motion on it. You get a sort of a 360 almost, I believe. Oh no, you can't. Sorry, I'm wrong. I thought you could get a full range of motion, but no, because it's blocked. So you can go both ways, but you can only go that far backwards before you hit that piece, and only up to sort of the horizontal there with the arm rotation. You do get a reasonable elbow bend. It's past the horizontal, so it looks okay. Also, because of the transformation joint, you can go out here, but obviously it just looks like someone snapped his arm there. What else can we do? There is no waist articulation, as you'd probably expect, to be honest, on a bot of this size. There is, however, a good range of motion on the legs. You can do full, well, high kick above the horizontal there, and you can do the same backwards, so you get a good range of motion out of that. He's on a ball joint there, so he gets a good sort of thigh swivel going on, and it has a very nice deep knee bend which can get all the way at the back, so he can get a really deep knee bend there, and yeah, that's really good. And moving down, ankle, well, you get some good toe pivot there, forward and back, and it can go to the side a little bit, not a huge amount, but a little bit. Obviously he has a heel spur at the back there as well. So all things considered, I mean, I haven't really tried it yet, but I'm assuming that you can actually get some pretty dynamic poses out of this guy. You know, he could, I don't know whether he could do a superhero landing or anything like that, but you know, you could have him kneeling or whatever like that. So I just realised to put him off camera then. You could have him kneeling. Yeah, when he's got his power drivers attached as well, I'm sure that could balance him, and you know, you could get some decent looking poses out of it anyway, some nice action poses. So all things considered, for the size of this bot, you actually get some good poses out of him. Anyway, I'm going to put him off to the side while I have a look at Soundwave himself, because obviously he is the main attraction, and I have moved the camera down a little bit. I'm going to try adjusting it slightly to see if I can get him in frame. It's difficult because he is a big bot, and with my camera set up the way it is, it's difficult. I'm having to move back and forth. Anyway, we'll start at the top again. Head here is on a post. You can get a lot up. Reveals a little bit of the neck, but doesn't look too bad. And it can do a 360, which on the mushroom peg, which is good. Very, very slight downward look, but really not anything to write home about. As I previously mentioned, this piece here at the top, this has some articulation as well. You'll see it's flat there. You'll notice it's flat. When you do this, it reveals a joint inside the weapon itself, which allows it to elevate. This back piece also can be extended as well, but it's pretty floppy, and I don't really know why it does it, because it doesn't look very good, and I can't remember if the original G1 toy did that or not. I don't think it did. I think the gun, the concussion rifle, extended, but not the shoulder piece. But anyway, I can't remember off the top of my head at the moment. Yeah, you get that, and you get a decent range. It's very, very squeaky, as you might expect from fans. Sorry, Robot Paradise. But yeah, does a good job. Looks good on the shoulder. Speaking of the shoulders, the Nightmare shoulders to peg in, they actually are pretty good. You've got a very nice clicky ratchet there that allows you to do a full 360. You can even stiffer ratchet up there. You can get up to the horizontal, which is nice. You have, oh, it's very tight. You have a nice and very tight bicep swivel there. You have nice deep elbow bend there. Look at that. It's only single jointed, but it's still really deep, which is pretty much all you're going to need, I think. That's pretty great, actually. You also get, thanks to this joint here, minimal ab crunch. And I say minimal because really it only crunches that much, which, you know, that's not a lot of movement, but it's some. I'll see if I can do it from this side, actually, because that arm's out of the way. You can see it better. So this is back, and this is forward. It's not great, but it's probably enough. I think if you unpeg this backpack a bit, you could probably get a little bit more backwards movement as well. There's a tiny bit, but it's not really anything worth doing to my mind. Speaking of the backpack, with it attached, you actually don't get a great range of motion. That's all you can do on the waist rotation there, which is not a huge amount. But if you do, if you move the ab crunch up, you get a little bit more, as you can see. But obviously he's looking down now. But if you do pull, excuse me, because this is actually quite tight. I think I clipped it in quite tight last time. I don't want to break it, so hold on, see if I can do this without breaking it. That would be preferable. Why are you not moving? There we go. Right, so the whole thing has a tendency to fall apart. And you can see without unpegged, you can go back a long way on the ab crunch, and it exposes a bit there. But also with that unpegged, you can get a very you can get a lot of articulation out of that waist piece, and it doesn't look too bad because you can pretty much tag it back in there, and it looks all right. So you don't even really need to plug it in really stiff at the back. You can just keep it loosely pegged in, and it's a bit easier for you to transform it then, or sorry, to manipulate. Anyway, so that's actually not a bad option, I think. Hip skirts obviously move all the way up here, and you get a nice sort of stiff friction joint. Considering this is a very heavy leg with some die cast on the foot and everything, it does hold it fairly well. You get a soft ratchet up to the front, which gives you 90 degrees just above maybe. Again, holds pretty well. Going back, you don't get that far. You only go up to there because of the butt flap. I guess you could probably untab it maybe and get a little bit more out of it, but it is actually enough, you know. It's as much as you would get out of your own leg, I assume. Let's move these flaps down, put the leg back. You get a thigh swivel on him here, nice stiff thigh swivel, and also a really nice deep knee bend. Look at that. It's a really great knee bend. So you could get him into some nice sort of running poses should you be so inclined. And moving down to the last articulation point, actually not the last, I've missed something, I'll go back to that. Yeah, if you go to here, the foot, you have some toe tilt and some toe pivot, and you also have some ankle. Well, it is actually still the toe pivot, really, I guess. You get a little bit of ankle there. It does turn, as you can see, it moves in and out. So I guess it is an ankle rocker, but it's the toe that turns, not really the ankle. But you know, it's still enough that you could put him in a wide stance, and he could stand like, you know, that actually doesn't look too bad like that. Just as a quick thing I've thrown together. He's a bit back heavy there, but yeah, you know, looks all right. What I forgot to mention were the hands and the wrists, obviously. You see I've got him in this kind of like, oh no you didn't pose with his hand up, and unfortunately because it's on a mushroom peg, it doesn't actually go back by default because it hits here. But if you unpeg it slightly because of the transformation joint there, you can kind of cheat it a bit. I mean, it does look a bit unsightly, but you know, I didn't think it looked too bad. With that all pegged together properly, it can only go that far. It's pretty horizontal, but it can go down, so here you can have a limp-wristed Soundwave if you so desire. The hands are a bit of a departure for Fans Toys because they're probably the best we've seen from them. Actually, you get a thumb on a ball joint here with 2 points of articulation. You know, you get you know, that actually is a lot more mobile than most Fans Toys. It reminds me of Quietus, actually, these hands. They're probably the closest approximation, but I think they're slightly better. You get each finger here is individually articulated as well, with 2 points of articulation on them. The index finger is slightly different. You get 3 points on that. I don't know if you can see it, but the very tippy of the finger there can bend as well, so he can do a little scratch. I'm guessing that's so that he can, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm assuming Soundwave's going to be able to press his own. Yeah, there you go. Soundwave can eject his own tapes. There you go. So yeah, all things considered, there's a pretty decent range of motion on this guy, and he looks really good in every pose, I think. You know, he's a big imposing bot. He yeah, he's honestly a really nice looking figure. And I'm really happy that he turned out this way. I have to say, I mean, you know, again, first impressions, and this is genuinely, sorry, me reacting to it along with you guys. I'm really happy with it. I think it's a really good bit. What I wanted to do actually as well, I can't remember if I mentioned it earlier, was that I wanted to do some comparisons with MP-02, which is the version I have, not MP-13, and also with the Masterpiece Red Robot, their version of Fibra, whatever they want to call it. They call it Rumble, obviously. So I think I'll do that now. I'll bring them out just because I have some things to say about design and scale. But yeah, give me a second and I'll get those queued up and I'll be back. Okay, and here we have the venerable MP-02, my first ever Masterpiece figure, albeit slightly modified with some upgrade pieces. I bought the Mod Fans kit for it, so it has the audio cassette that plays various G1 sounds and music from both Asian and American animation. It has a red visor, whereas the Hasbro obviously had a yellow visor. This is actually a completely different head. You replace the head on it, and it has a light up gimmick, and it also has a different concussion blaster with a purple tip. I don't know what they were trying to say there, but that also illuminates as well. So it's not quite stock. I mainly did it because I really wanted the red visor because you know, I'm a cartoon guy, so the yellow just wasn't doing it for me. But you know, some of the other stuff is okay as well. But yeah, I still love this figure. I still think it looks really good. It actually doesn't look hugely out of place in a Masterpiece collection these days. You know, even against the Toon stuff, it still looks all right. But you know, if you're like a Toon guy like me, I mean, you can see the difference. It's just night and day, isn't it, really, in how much more accurate that is. Yeah, it just looks really good compared to that. I mean, again, not denigrating this at all. I still love it. It was a gift as well, so it will always hold a special place in my heart for that reason. But in terms of aesthetics, articulation, everything, this kind of just blows it away, really. You know, this still does a few good things. You can still get good poses out of it, but just the proportions are just not really there, are they? And you have very basic arms and hands and things, and you know, but you can see the stylings. Obviously, you have those bits there which are very much like the add-on pieces that you got with Acoustic Wave, and the chest piece is more like the alt chest piece. These knees, etc., the same. The side pieces here, you can see that those are the add-on pieces they went with for the toy. This obviously took more cue from the G1 toy than anything else, but it's still a good piece. You know, it's still a good little figure. You can see I've got my old original blaster on the back there as well, and the sensor. It's a nice figure. I mean, I think what I really wanted to do was obviously just to show you what he looks like next to him, but not just that. I wanted to show one of my other little bugbears with the figure, and that is the scale. I have managed to knock this battery off the back, so I'll take that out of the way. So I'll put him back a little bit over there, just because these are both big bots and therefore difficult to get in frame. But if I put him back here, I'll get Acoustic Wave also back into more of a natural upright stance. You can see what I mean. Now, as someone who's very Toon-centric, shall we say, in his collection, what I want is not only just something that's aesthetically similar to the Toon model, but also scale-wise, I want it to be pretty much in the ballpark. And if you look here, you can see that these two together, he's a good half a head taller, and just looks bigger overall, probably just because of the Toon proportions. You know, even though this actually has more hanging off of it and is slightly bulkier overall, this is a more svelte bot. This just looks bigger, just all over, to my eye anyway. But it's the height, really. I mean, when you actually put them back to back or whatever, or even like this, you can probably see they're not a million miles away. There's not really a huge amount in it. It is like, I think that's hiding it, but it is like half a head, really. When you put them like that, you can see there's not too much in it. But it's very much that, I don't know, I think what annoys me with it really is that this guy, when you actually look at the cartoon scale, is already too tall. So he should be the same height as Shockwave. And when you look at the new scale they've done, MP-52 is in scale with MP36 Megatron because of where his shoulder pylons end up, or etc., whatever, his air intakes, whatever they are. So he is actually in scale, even though people say he's too short, he's not. And also, likewise, although everyone remembers Shockwave from the comics and everything as being this big imposing bot, he was actually supposed to be as short as he is in the cartoon. He was a short little bugger. So when you actually look at the scale chart, Shockwave's head, or his antennae on the side of his head, align with the top of Soundwave's head. So that's roughly the scale. I think MP29 Laserwave comes up to about here, so he's about half a head shorter than Soundwave is, the official Soundwave. What that now means is that this is an entire head taller than Shockwave is, which is not right, and maybe even a little bit more when I look at it like this. I'm seeing it might even come to about here, just memory-wise. It's not the end of the world, I will say that. Like, again, this is me nitpicking, as I want to do, but only because I am very much into the toon aesthetic. So I feel a little bit like they've scaled this with their own Quake Wave rather than the official Masterpiece Shockwave. Is it a huge deal breaker? No, obviously not. But it's just one of those little things, a bit like this trim not being the same colour as this, and these not being silver. Oh, and they're wonky. I've just noticed that they actually appear to be a little bit wonky, unless my eyes are weird, but they do seem to be slightly going to the left, down on a slope. Anyway, it's not a massive thing, but it's just something I thought it was worth mentioning, that he is that little bit too tall for my money. But it's not going to really detract from my entertainment or my enjoyment of him. It's just a thing. When I put him next to Shockwave, it's going to be a thing that sticks in my mind that always a little bit big. But then, when you actually look at certain issues of the comic, you'll see that sometimes Shockwave was drawn as big as Megatron. Other times he was drawn smaller. I've seen there's at least one issue of the comic when Megatron's the tallest, then Soundwave, then Shockwave. So that's kind of what I'm using as my own scale reference now, just to sort of get over my OCD. But yeah, I thought it was worth mentioning anyway, that I know this is super nitpicky, but yeah, it's a thing for me, for my brain, I'm afraid. Still, I think they both look great. This guy, apologies, I just knocked the camera. This guy has had his day in terms of the display option, but he's going to go into alt mode, and I'm never going to get rid of him because, as I say, it was a gift. It was the bot that started it all in terms of my modern day Transformers collecting. So, and also was a childhood favourite, and I still have that somewhere. Not entirely sure where though. But yeah, I'm always going to keep this. I think it'll go into my alt mode display. What I want to do as well, as I said, was I want to just do a quick comparison between the smaller bots here, and with this there really is no comparison. I've always been disappointed. I'll just move the camera down slightly to focus on these guys. I've always been slightly disappointed with the official Masterpiece offerings for the cassettes. I just think they look like a bit of an afterthought, really. But again, it just goes to show that like this guy is a pretty good scale, because he's about just over half a head taller, and that's roughly how that equates. I put them next to their actual bots, that would help, wouldn't it? And yeah, I think that they scale well. They're supposed to come up to the top of the shins in the animation model, which they do, so that works well. At least they're in scale with with Soundwave. That's the main thing. These there's no competition. I mean, the feet are worse on this. You can see the ball joints, for God's sake. The deco on the front's not as accurate. The deco here and here isn't as accurate. The guns in that look pretty similar, but you have these really squat proportions. This looks a lot more heroic. Obviously, the face sculpt's better. This looks more like the toy, not the cartoon. As you'll see, this is what I was saying about them using the Masterpiece thing as the basis. You'll see it's almost a carbon copy. Which is really strange, and you'll see inside the legs as well, with the detailing being the same as the Masterpiece version. So it's very odd, but yeah, again, for me, night and day in terms of the modern version versus the archaic version. But still a lot of love for these guys, because they were the ones that started it all, so to speak. So yeah, I think maybe I will keep these with my alt mode Soundwave and put them in the chest, etc., or just have them lying around. I have decided actually, because the cassettes that they're releasing, they're not releasing a buzzsaw. The 3-pack that are coming out is Ravage, Rumble Frenzy and Laserbeak. And I don't even like the look of their Laserbeak too much because the wings don't look right. I think the Hasbro Takara versions are more accurate. So I've got a buzzsaw here, which is obviously what comes with the official MP, the MP figure, because I got all the cassettes with it. I think you get Laserbeak with MP13, but I got all of them. So I'm gonna keep him, and I'll probably use the Laserbeak in another display option somewhere else, and I'll use the Laserbeak and buzzsaw from MP02 with my Acoustic Wave. So that way I get the best of both worlds. I get the better looking robot mode, the better looking robots and Jaguar, and I get the better looking Condor, because I honestly believe that the wings on this guy are far more accurate, and obviously they're not. Fans Toys seem to have just completely forgotten the existence of buzzsaw, so they're not doing him, which is slightly disappointing. But if I move this up, I think he would actually make for quite a good. Obviously, he won't tab onto the arm like he does on the official, but you know, you can have him perched on the back there if I can actually get him perched. You know, I'm sure there are ways to display him where he's, you know, there he is peeking over, little minion. So yeah, I think I'm going to go down that route and repurpose some of the cassettes across the different figures. Anyway. I am going on a lot again. That was really just this little scale bit I did there. But what I'll do now is I'll get all this cleared away, and then I'm going to transform Acoustic Wave into his alt mode. I'll do that off camera again, and then we'll be back. We'll take a look at that, and then we'll do the final thoughts, the wrap up, etc. So yeah, just bear with me for a bit, and I'll be back soon. Okay, and here we are back with Acoustic Wave in his alt mode, and yeah. I'm pretty pleased with this. It looks very, very nice, very close to the G1 Toon version of the character. I like these nice sort of greyish pieces at the side here. The way it contrasts with the blue looks really good. It's a nice compact sort of tape deck as well. I'm still not overly fond of the gold trim and the silver buttons. I wish they had gone more Toon centric with that, but other than that, as we move round, I mean, there's still some other detailing on it that's slightly more toy, with this button here, or this switch that slides around. On the back, obviously very much the case that you can see those are the robot arms, and there's some gaps here, but they're not too bad. And again, on the other side, I haven't taken the QC sticker off yet. I do take my QC stickers off, I promise. This button here obviously moves, a bit like the official does. Doesn't have a headphone jack. From the top, you know, you've got this eject mechanism button here. I'll do the bottom actually. The bottom's fairly hollow, but not too bad. There are a lot of panels that do fold over to make it look reasonably clean, but obviously a robot's legs, etc. Sorry, going back to the top again, yeah, you've got this button here that you can do the eject mechanism with, and that sort of pops out the cassette. And there you can see I've actually got Fibra in his cassette mode here. I'll give you a brief look at what he looks like. Not too much to say about that. It's a cassette. There you go, you've got the back side on that side, you've got the little accents on the legs, and then you've got the cassette side. You can actually accommodate 2 cassettes in this. Obviously I only have one at the moment. The Takara Hasbro cassettes don't fit this. I don't know if you can see it probably on camera now because of just the way the angle is, but it will fit at the back here. And you can push it in. Sorry, not doing this terribly well, am I? Excuse me. It does, I promise, fit back. There we go. Right, so that now you can see that's recessed deeper, and then you can get another one in the drawer when you close it up. You've got the 2. You can see he's sat further back now, or hopefully you can see that. When I pop this open, he's still not out. And there's a little die-cast piece here that you lever, and that pushes that forward, and then out he comes, so he's not stuck in there permanently. Yeah, so honestly, nice. I really like the way it looks. It's an, as I say, nice compact cassette player, very heavy. What I will do is I'll just move him off slightly to the side here, and I'll bring in the official Hasbro version that I've got. and obviously starting to look slightly weathered these days, got a few paint scratches, etc. But yeah, it looks nice on the whole still. I mean, it has slightly more play features. These buttons, you can depress them. Obviously they don't do anything, but you can depress them. I didn't mean to press that then, actually. Although I might as well. Let's do that. I find, obviously, that with these, the tapes in this get stuck a lot more than I would like. So, yeah, my frenzy rumble is now stuck in there. I probably need to get a tool or something to get him out. This happens really frequently with the Masterpiece ones. It really kind of gets on my nerves. I'll just use a tool to see if I can pry it out quickly. Stuff always happens on camera, doesn't it? It's very stuck. Why is it so stuck? This is infuriating. I mean, maybe I should just give up on this. I don't know why I'm trying to show you something that you'd already know. Maybe I'll get that out in a minute. I honestly can't be bothered. Yeah, I think that shows off one of the issues I always had with this mould, actually, is that the cassettes, I didn't utilise the function to store them in the bot that much because they got stuck every time I put them in. And you can accommodate 2 cassettes in there as well, but yeah, they just don't like to come out when you ask them to. So yeah, annoying. But looking around it, you know, it's broadly similar. You've got the same sort of scrolly button there, although it has a stopping point. You obviously have a lot more detail on there, you know, things where you can you know, plug stuff in there. You've got this detailing here. Again, it looks pretty hollow, and obviously a robot from the back and the bottom. You have the same up and down sort of volume, well, not volume actually, whatever that would be, switch on and off, I guess. It has a headphone jack, which is a working headphone jack. Well, I say working, you can plug headphones in, obviously it doesn't work, but it's, you know, that's a nice detail that the Acoustic Wave doesn't have. And you have a battery indicator there, again, that doesn't actually do anything. Looking at them side by side, well, I still think that this looks better just because I'm such a tune nerd. Just give me a second, sorry. This is really bugging me that I can't get this figure out. I refuse to be beaten on this one. So you're going to watch me being slightly heavy-handed and probably way too heavy-handed actually on camera. I'm sure people sat there going, what the hell is he doing to his figure? But it's just annoying me that, there we go, right, got the damn thing out. That's ridiculous, isn't it? But yeah, just to get the cassette out so you can compare it. So there's the Masterpiece next to the third party. And again, broadly similar, much easier transformation on this one. You know, there's a couple of bits fold up. This one's very lightweight, you know, you can hear it. This one, a lot heavier. But quite similar on the background there, or sorry, on the back, on the reverse. Obviously haven't put any faction symbols on the third party yet, haven't had the time, but yeah, they look okay, they're pretty similar. But I do prefer the third party in almost every respect, and as you can see, they are kind of the same size, but the official's just slightly taller, and that impedes it going into there, and I don't want to jam anything up, so I haven't done it. Anyway, you know, hopefully that gives you a good look at the alt mode. There's not really a lot more to say about it. It's a cassette deck. I'm sure there are a few people watching this who don't even know what a cassette deck is, actually. You know, given that we sort of progressed through to CDs and MP3s and now just streaming everything. But that's what we used to have back in the day, guys, and it was, yeah, it was a massive pain of chewed up tapes and ever diminishing battery life. Anyway, I think that's probably enough chatting about the alt mode. As I say, there's not anything terribly exciting to say about that. The transformation process was okay. I didn't get stuck in too many places. Compressing the main torso was the bit where I got stuck. I don't know why, it just seemed to be quite stiff on mine. Took a bit of you know, wrangling to get it to work. But other than that, everything tabbed in pretty well. I don't have any major complaints. Some of these tabs up here are actually quite tight, like trying to put them in and take them out, I imagine is going to be a pain. But yeah, compared to some things, you know, like I did Spotter recently, obviously that was a lot more of a pain in the arse, to be honest. So yeah, by and large, good transformation. Probably not one I'll ever display in alt mode. I'll leave this one in bot mode eventually, and this one will be my my alt mode display. So yeah, give me a few seconds and I'll get this guy transformed back into bot mode for some final thoughts. Okay, and here we are back in robot mode for some final thoughts. And I will say one thing straight off the bat, it was a lot easier to go from alt mode into bot mode than it was the other way. The only thing I really had any issue with was getting these shoulder pieces that tab into the top undone. They were very tight. I didn't have the same issue with the compression on the chest piece there as I did going the other way. Yeah, everything else was pretty smooth, so it really didn't take me very long at all to go back into bot mode, so that's good. And I'm also very happy to say that he survived unscathed. I can't see any paint blemishes or anything like that, or certainly nothing major that's popping out to me. I did have a couple of these panels here. They because the tabs are quite tight in the grooves, they stayed attached to his shoulders, so I had to pop them off and push them back in. That's just a minor thing, I guess. The only thing I will say is that Fibra wasn't quite as lucky. Very sad in that both of these figures were pristine paint-wise, which is something that's very rare for me when I get a figure. I've always got some paint issue or something. So I was pretty happy that both were pretty cool and didn't seem to have any issues at all. And I'm guessing when inserting it into the rearmost slot, because I didn't have this issue when it was in the front, but since taking it out of the back, if you can see on the little bit of the yellow there on the front of the leg, I do have some paint rub, just a little line there, which is quite noticeable because of where it is and the colour it's against. And I tried to sort of see if that was a smudge and it would come off, and it won't. It's actually a little bit of paint wear, so that is really quite annoying, to be honest, because I don't usually have much luck with my paint apps. Seemingly everything I buy has paint issues. You know, I had problems with the V2 lock. Again, I had problems with MP52 Plus Thundercracker. I had a few minor problems with Starscream, but before that I've had quite a few paint issues as well on figures. So anyway, minor thing, I know, to most people, I'm sure, but for me it's just a bit of a bummer, but I'm sure I'll quickly forget about it anyway. It's just happened, so it's fresh in my mind, and it's one of those things that wasn't there and I did it as part of the transformation for something that I will never use again for the purposes of the review. So there you go. Anyway, that aside, final thoughts. Should you buy this? Unreserved, yes. I don't really have anything else to say. Goodbye, everyone. No, obviously it's me. I always have more to say. It's a really, really great figure. Honestly, one of the best Fans Toys figures I've had in a long time. And it probably helps that it's one of my favourite characters, but I think they've really nailed the toon aesthetic. But they've also done enough for people who aren't really into the hyper toon look. So you do have this piece here and this piece here, and of course all the accessories to turn it into the more toyetic version of the figure. I think it's a really good bet for everyone. It pleases most people, I would think, in that regard. You know, if you don't like this look, you can make it look more like the toy. And yes, personally, I would prefer that this and this were more toon accurate, so quite flat and boring. That's just my preference. I like things to look like animation cells. That's just what I like. And I also think it's at least a head too tall to scale accurately in the Sumbo chart. Sorry, but again, really minor nitpicks. Those things. I mean, I'm being hypercritical just because that's what I am. And I can afford to be. You know, I'm paying for this stuff. I want it to meet my needs. But by and large, it does. I say it's a gorgeous looking figure. I can't express enough how much I like the paint on it in person. It's a totally different look than it is in pictures. It looks really, really good. So I think, yeah, it's a no-brainer pickup if you're into this character. And I'm very happy that I'm very soon going to have what I would consider a very full-on toon season 1 cast of Decepticons. I think really the only other figure that I've got now, aside from the cassettes, obviously, which will be coming, I sort of see them as part of this. But the only other figure really, character is Skywarp, and I will be getting MP52 Plus Skywarp at some point. And then my G1 Decepticon or season 1 Decepticon cast will be pretty much as toon as it's possible to be with what's available out there. I mean, there's an argument that the Insecticons, that Fans Toys are maybe slightly better than Bag Cubes, but the way I see it, some stuff on the Bag Cubes figures are more accurate than Fans Toys and vice versa. Fans Toys just look glossier. and I'm not willing to pay the prices that they command in the aftermarket or even new, particularly the markup they put on them to get the grey-chested bombshell, etc. Anyway, I'm going off topic as usual. This is the best Fans Toys figure I've had in ages. I really like it. It's one of the best Transformers I've had in ages, actually. I did really like MP52, I have to say, but this is yeah. You know, I got at least as much enjoyment and wow factor out of this as I did MP52, and I wasn't sure what to expect, but yeah, I just think the colours look much better in person. Honestly, I don't think they're probably coming across on camera as well as they could, but yeah, they look pretty damn show accurate, and I just love how clean he is, and he just is really evocative of the cartoon aesthetic, much more so than the Takara official is. So as much as I will always love that because of the place it holds in my heart, for being the first figure that kick-started my collecting and being a gift, etc., this will replace it on the shelf, and it will go into alt mode. So yeah, I mean, I don't really think for once there is a whole lot more I can say. I just, you know, I can throw superlatives at this all day really, but I don't need to. I think it kind of sells itself. If you haven't managed to get it, I'm pretty sure it's still out there. It's available for probably a little bit more than it was on pre-order now, but if you try and get it in the UK, that is. But if you're importing from Asia, you can probably get a decent deal on it. There is still stock available, but I would urge you to get it before you have to pay that Fans Toys sort of, you know, aftermarket tax, because we all know what that does. Anyway, as I said, won't go on for too much more. I would urge everyone who is a G1 Transformers fan to pick this up, and I think that's a pretty strong endorsement from me, as I'm usually quite pessimistic with these things, as long-time viewers of the channel will know. But anyway, that's pretty much it for me for today. I think hopefully I'll be back before Christmas. I'm not entirely sure, but I know that the Robot Paradise RP-01 tape collection is due in the next month, so hopefully that will be this side of Christmas. Who knows? Also, Rig was due out in November, so maybe that will be by the end of the month, which is their Huffer, Fans Toys Huffer. And also, I believe MP52 plus Skywarp should be in December, so hopefully before Christmas. So I could have 3 reviews before Christmas, I could have nothing, I just don't know. And then in the new year, I will have Fans Toys Trailbreaker, which is what do they call that? Is it Outlander or something like that? I forget. Yeah, also Virtus, which is the long-delayed X-Transbot Springer, but those will almost certainly be the new year. So I'm hoping to be back before Christmas with some more content, and if not, I'll probably do some more retrospective reviews, because I am enjoying those lately. It's nice to go back and revisit figures that I haven't touched in my collection for a while, and just, you know, kind of share some thoughts on them with those who are interested. Okay, so that really is it for me for today, and I would say thanks to everyone for tuning in. Thanks to all the new subscribers, especially for taking me over 500 subs. That's really cool. As I say, I don't really do this because I get any money, which I definitely don't. It costs me a lot of money, but I don't get any. I just do it because I quite enjoy the creative output of producing these videos and sharing these figures with you. So thanks for everyone who watches. I hope it's proved useful and mildly entertaining. And it just remains for me to say, take care of yourselves, and I will catch you all in the next video.